there's a lot of people that don't understand that when judges give parenting plans, they've never met your children. You know, judges have never really met you. They see you. They don't even really talk to you unless you go on the stand. And I have a case that I'm going to talk about, and she's given me permission to read her parenting plan. And I'm just going to tell you, it is shocking when I tell you the background story of why her parenting plan sucked so bad. This one was when in a very abusive, financially abusive relationship, emotionally abusive relationship, and very hostile divorce. And it has led her to use attorneys, to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, him as well. She has lost herself in this divorce. She's finding herself again, but it's been over a year, I think, plus. And they've had a GAL. They've had the GAL come to homes and do interviews, and the GAL then sends a report to the judge. And they had their trial. They spoke on the stand, and then the judge gave his finding. And when I read some of the phrases, knowing that this is a hostile divorce, knowing that these people don't get along, knowing these people can't even have a conversation with each other, I'm going to read you some things that are in this judgment. And this is where my head spins. This is where I get irate. This is where I make it my mission that people need to know this shit is happening to families all over the place. This shit is ridiculous. I can't stand it. It makes me so angry. And this isn't even my family. This isn't my story, but this is what I do for a living. I help people understand that they are getting set up for failure. And when I read you part of this parenting plan, you will understand what I'm talking about. There's things in here where all the evidence in common sense world, in Sam's common sense world, all of the evidence points to these two people don't like each other. These two people are not going to compromise. These two people are not going to get along. These two people are not going to put their differences aside and make decisions together. It hasn't happened in over a year. It hasn't happened in their marriage. And so I'm appalled when I read these parenting plans from certain judges that state that parties are going to figure it out. And they leave the wording to say such things. And let me just read a few quotes here from this parenting plan that I have, and you will be disgusted. Again, these parties don't get along, and many don't. And I know some people have this falsehood that be the bigger person and just get along. And I'm telling you right now, you guys, it takes two people to do that. It takes two willing people to want to work towards being cordial and nice and respectful to each other. And quite frankly, that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen for a lot of people. What happens for a lot of people is that one person is an absolute rip and a half to deal with, and they go against everything that gets said. And it's so hard to deal with somebody that's manipulative and rude and egotistical, and some will say narcissistic, and some will say just a complete asshole to deal with. And this is both men and women. This is not one-sided. There's just as many problem moms as there are problem dads. There's just as many asshole wives as there's asshole husbands. But when judges and attorneys write these parenting plans to cause them to figure things out later. So these two people have spent a shit ton of money and used lawyers, had a trial, had a GAL, and still their parenting plan is written in a way so many times in this thing, and I'm going to give you some examples, where it says the parties will come together and figure it out. I'm sorry, judge. What? These two people hate each other's guts, and you are physically writing in the parenting plan that they'll just come up with a solution. If it was so easy to come up with a solution, wouldn't they have done that already? Wouldn't they have maybe not used attorneys? Wouldn't they maybe have just litigated with their attorneys and come up with a solution? And they didn't. So now they have a judgment, a paper signed by the judge that they have to follow. And it says that they will work together to figure out such things like birthdays, to figure out such things like holidays, to figure out extracurriculars. And I just can't wrap my head around what's the logic there from a judge? What is the logic there? Do they really think that these people are going to try to get along? Here's one example. The parties are encouraged in order to reasonably work together to ensure the minor child spends enough time with both family members celebrating a special event. Let's just unwrap that one. Let's just unwrap that one. Number one, parties are going to work together. We know that's not going to happen. Number two, what is a special event? Because what is a special event to one party may not be a special event to the other party. And does this mean I have to give up my parenting time to the other party to make sure that the child spends time with each family for these special events? There's no specific list of special events. So are we talking a dog's birthday, a special event? And I know some of you may find that funny, but this is the real shit that people are dealing with. This is the real petty shit that people will say, well, my neighbor's having a party. I want our child to go. I'm having a work party. A guy's retiring. I want my child to go. We're not talking about baptisms and graduations. Those would be special events, weddings, reunions. Those are special events that should be considered, but they need to be listed between two people that have a very hostile divorce. So let me again read this statement. These two people don't get along. Their lawyers don't get along. They had a horrible, horrible custody battle over a child. And it ends with this. The parties are encouraged and ordered to reasonably work together to ensure the minor child spends time with each party's family when celebrating a special event. But they're not giving any parameters for that. I just have a huge problem with that because all that does is set people back into the wheelhouse of going back to court to figure out what is a special event and how much time do I give for said special event? Is it 2 hours? Is it 4 hours? Because I may propose that, hey, my sister's getting married and I would like my child to go. It's on your weekend. So can I have the child for Saturday to Sunday and overnight? No, no, no. You can have her for 2 hours. Well, there's the wedding, there's the reception. I'd really like her to go to the or the wedding rehearsal. And so what would seem logic to me doesn't seem logical to my ex. And so then there comes this wave of problems where I think it would be logical that she should go to the wedding rehearsal and she should go to the wedding and then she should go to the wedding reception and just spend the night because it's going to be late and it's going to be fun and she's going to be around all of her family, not just me, but her extended family, where then said ex may say, no, you get her for 2 hours and that's it. Is that a reasonably working together result? No, no, because you, judge, did not put enough specifics in here. Have not put enough specifics. Okay, let's find another one. Let's find another one. There was one here where transportation has been a horrible issue where his family does this big, huge scene at drop off and pick up, and it makes the wife, the mother feel uncomfortable. So she's wanting to meet at a neutral middle ground place. Makes sense. Just keep the hostility down, keep the conflict down, just meet at a neutral place. This one says, this is what the judge said. And this was a huge topic in their trial, a huge topic that there is this sense of, 4 people coming out to cause a scene and it makes her feel uncomfortable and she doesn't like it. And hey, if we could just have meet at a neutral place or, everybody stay inside, but just meet a neutral place. And that's what they kept asking. There's distance between the two of them of over an hour. And so they thought, let's just meet at 30 minutes halfway, cuts down on the conflict at that house. And both of us are driving less. This judge put, the parties are strongly encouraged to work together with one another towards a schedule that is fair and includes exchanging the child in a public place halfway between the respective homes when the exchanges do not occur at school and daycare. Perfect. So he saw that there was a conflict in the trial. And then took it the next step and said, okay, meet at a halfway point. But he didn't list a halfway point. So now literally we have two people that don't like each other having to work out. Do we go to Target? Do we go to the post office? Do we go to the high school? And again, for some of you that get along with your exes, you're probably thinking this is so petty. But for some people who have super unrealistic people they are divorcing and have to co-parent, parallel parent with, this is a battle that will last weeks and months on where we will actually meet, on where we will do the exchange. So by this judge just saying, yeah, meet halfway and work out the details of what would be fair. Well, what is fair to me will not be fair to him, according to him, and vice versa. So this judge, again, is setting up the failure for these parents to pick a spot. He could have listed 3 spots. He could have asked the attorneys what would be a logical place. I need more people to go through these parenting plans before they're signed and look for conflict. Look for unresolved issues. Look for gray areas to make sure that there's no possibility for me to read it one way and him to read it another. And as I read through this, and there's like 5 other examples, there's so many things where it's open-ended, and I could interpret it one way and he could interpret another way, which then results in a whole bunch of shitty emails or parenting app messages, and then we still don't resolve. And then this parenting plan doesn't say what to do when you have a conflict, when you don't follow the order of pick a fair, reasonable halfway point. What's the protocol for when we hit the impasse of not getting along? What do? Do we go to a mediator? Do we hire a parent coordinator? Does one person have final say over this particular subject? I don't know. But to leave it so open-ended without, I mean, just the fact that these people spent so much money and so much time and so many days on a trial for the judge to then say, work together. It's not going to happen. I've been doing this for 12 years. It's not going to happen. Every once in a while, you get this awesome story of somebody bumping their head and waking up to reality and realizing, you know what, we probably should just get along. This makes it a lot easier, but not a lot. Doesn't happen a lot. So it's really hard for me to read these parenting plans for people that have so much leeway. I had one the other day that said parties will exchange for 4 hours for the birthday. And I have so many problems with just 4 hours for a birthday. But what 4 hours? Is it the 4 hours right after school? Is it the 4 hours into the evening? Oh, but we got an 8 o'clock bedtime. So now it's 4 o'clock. So I get 4 to 8 because it's 4 hours and it's my year to get 4 hours. But then the other parent throws this hissy fit that they get no time. But that's what it says, 4 hours. And then there's just this huge argument. There are ways to solve these problems. There really is. Because there's people that make really good parenting plans that don't leave a lot of gray area to prevent the fighting and the arguing. But this whole idea that parents that are in high conflict are going to later in the near future have to sit down and compromise about what is fair, they don't like each other. If I don't like someone, I'm probably not going to treat them fairly. Should I? Yes, that is reality. Yes, I should. But in a divorce, it doesn't work that way. In a hostile divorce of fuck you season, it just doesn't work that way. So I'm coming on today to just say, if you have a shit parenting plan that has a lot of gray area, that doesn't give a lot of specifics, that left a lot of open-ended dialogue to still be had later between you and your ex, you're not wrong for being mad. You're not wrong for being frustrated. You're not wrong for seeing the problems that are going to come ahead. It's so hard to read that after all the money you just spent, all the time and energy you just spent, And to have did he not hear we hate each other? Did he not hear that we don't get along? Did he not hear that I was begging for him to make a judgment because he's wearing the black robe? He was supposed to make a judgment and determine and give the answers to us so we could stop arguing. Just tell us what to do. Believe me, as someone that was in these exact shoes myself 15 years ago, I would have begged for an attorney or a judge to just tell me how it is. Just pick for us, because us trying to find the compromise is not working. Just tell us. Instead of all this open, parties will come to an agreement. No, they fucking won't. No, they won't. Because they didn't agree in their marriage. They got divorced. They didn't agree the whole time they were in the custody battle. They're not going to fucking agree. So pick. That's why I'm dropping 10, 40, 60, 80, $100,000 on a divorce to have someone give me a plan that's rock solid so I don't have to keep coming back into this courtroom. So I don't have to keep coming back over and over and over and over again to get an answer that I asked for at the beginning of the fucking divorce. It's so hard for people that have joint decision making when they're in this spot. And that's the other thing I'm going to end with. These judges and attorneys that keep giving joint parenting to two people that hate each other, that can't compromise, that can't talk, that are on a parenting app, and it's still horrible. It's still hostile. You know who you're fucking over besides both parties? The children. Because you did nothing. You made no conclusion. You said, joint, figure it out. Figure it out. Go to joint. You hate each other. Don't even talk. You're disrespectful as fuck to each other. You got 4 kids together. Go figure it out. Use the app. It says you have to agree or you can't do it. So you're telling me when one of us says, yes, my son can play football, and the other one says, no, I don't want to spend every Friday night going to a football game, then my child can't play football? He can't play the thing that most kids do when they get to high school because we don't agree on fucking him playing football? Yeah. What? And it is so prevalent. It's so prevalent in divorces nowadays where people are not agreeing. People are not compromising. People are not putting their children first. And again, for that to work, it takes 2. So many people say, well, just try to get along. I can try all day long. I have my clients try all day long, but when they get to a spot where the other person is just wall is up, the answer is no, it's not happening, I'm not talking to you, I'm not compromising, I'm not engaging, I'm not answering your email, I'm not responding. What do you do? Because according to the parenting plans that I've been editing lately, there isn't an answer for what you do. They aren't putting in next steps. They aren't putting in what to do. So when you're going through your divorce and it's getting hostile, I want you to prove to the judge, prove to the GAL that this whole joint legal custody is only going to cause you problems and cause your children dramatic problems in their childhood, because you know you're not going to get along. You know you're not going to compromise. You know you're not going to agree. And you're going to be fighting and arguing and bringing yourselves back to court over and over and over again. So you need to be pushing that in your trial, in your case, in front of the judges, to make sure that if anything, one of you gets final say on certain subjects. One of you could have final say in education. You hit a conflict, boom, mom gets to pick. You hit a conflict on medical, boom, dad gets to pick. But having this whole let's do joint kumbaya when we've spent 100 G's on a fucking divorce each, and it's taken 2 to 3 to 4 years to get done, we aren't going to be rolling over a new leaf anytime soon to get along. We're not. So it bothers me to my core that people aren't. And here's the deal. Here's the deal of this, you guys. You get this paperwork and you're disappointed that there's so many still gray areas that we're going to have to compromise and get along or do legal joint custody. You can't bitch about it. because the person you're going to bitch about it to is the one making the fucking decision, the judge. So you can't even go and pitch a fit, because then the judge is going to be mad because you don't like his ruling or her ruling. So you are literally sitting there with your fucking hands tied going, this is going to be a problem. I'm going to be back and I can't bitch about it because then the judge, I don't want to offend the judge. I don't want to make the judge mad. And so literally your hands are tied and you go home beat. You go home distraught. You go home going, fuck, I got to save. First, I got to pay off my attorney for this round. And now I got to start saving for the next round, because there will be another round. So it is horrible to think that this is still happening, because enough people like me are not getting out to enough lawyers and judges and saying, you're fucking up families. You are fucking up families. You are making people hate each other even more. You're making people read that and go, ooh, I know, we got to get along. I'm never agreeing to that bitch. I am never going to bow down to that asshole. And that's literally how people think when they read that, like, I'm not agreeing to this shit. I'll never say yes to her. And this pattern will repeat itself the whole childhood of the children. And the children will end up hating this about their parents and being jealous of kids that don't have these conflicts at home and being embarrassed and hating conflict in the future in their own relationships. And it molds your children into who they will be by what they watch and what they witness. So I beg of you, talk to your attorneys, talk to judges, research, get the right information into your case about why 50-50 or why legal joint custody does not work for your family. Push that agenda. Don't just say, I'm better than him. I'm better than her. Don't just say that. Say, what does a fight look like? What does a conflict look like? Show screenshots of interactions. Show video, if it's legal in your state, of what a fight looks like, a conversation per se. Show them what it does. Get your kids in counseling. Have the therapist help you show the court that the conflict is so high that doing legal joint custody doesn't fucking work for everybody. Doesn't work. And here's, okay, one of the very last things. I want you to really think about those of you that are going after sole, or you're having your partner go for sole legal joint custody, or legal custody. They're wanting to make decisions over you. I want you to ask yourself, is that person going to be making totally immoral, dumb, dangerous decisions for your children? Or is it just that you don't want to lose? I mean, really think about that. And I'm going to talk personal here for a second. My ex-husband and I don't like each other. It's been 15 years. 8 of it was garbage. Last few years, been pretty good. We're respectful. We've gotten over that hill, right? Our kids are older. We have one turning 18 today. We have a 16-year-old, and things are different now. But no matter what, how bad we hated each other, our moral compasses of what we wanted for our children were the same. Our educational thoughts were the same. Public education. Our medical thoughts were the same. Take your kid to the doctor when they're sick. Our extracurriculars were the same. Kids should play sports and do activities with their peers. And so our religious beliefs were the same. Let kids dabble in whatever they want to dabble. That was our family. We were morally the same. Did we get along all the time? Hell no. Did I mention we were in court for 8 years? But one of us didn't have a moral upper hand over the other one. We both thought the same. We both wanted to raise our kids the same way. So if somebody's going against you, I want you to ask yourself, okay, they want legal custody. Is it because they think differently than me? Or do they just not want to engage with me and have to ask me a question every 2 or 3 weeks when a decision needs to be made? And this needs to be a further conversation. But I want to make sure if you are in a hostile divorce, you hear me clearly. Don't leave sentences in your parenting plan that say you will talk about shit in the future. You will come to an agreement. You will talk things out. You will reach and be fair and reasonable. No, you won't. No, you won't. What you're going to be is back in court. You will be back in court. So I'm going to wrap this up with this. If you are new to divorce, if you are dabbling with thinking about it, or if you are knee deep in it, go to my website, samanthaboss.com, and get the 5 for 5. I have 5 do's and 5 don'ts, totally free, totally free. Go get it. And inside there is more. There is more, because one of my biggest mistakes back in 2008 was that I did not educate myself and I did not prepare myself for what was about ready to happen. I thought it would be easy. I thought it would be respectful. I thought it would be over fast. None of that was true. And so I wish I would have gotten the education that I'm trying to give people now. I would have loved to have had me in my life back then and known and had someone in my support system that knows the system, knows people, knows what to look for, can see things ahead and help me build a plan that was better. So go grab that 5 for 5, 5 do's, 5 don'ts of divorce, and reach out, get in my support group, be available to let people help you, because doing this alone, I haven't seen people fare well with that. Trying to figure this out alone, it doesn't work for people. It doesn't. So ask for help. And if you have to ask help from a stranger because you don't have anybody, then do that. But trying to do this alone, don't. There's no need. There's no need to do this alone. All right. I hope you've enjoyed this. Please give it a like and a follow.